All right, Andy, for this episode, and I think for future episodes, we try to answer a question. And I think what we're seeking to answer just overall is what is the power of AI? But like, let's figure out, can we do this? Can we one shot using AI a brand new app, that people can actually use, that's usable, that's published live? Is one shotting possible? So that could be our episode
That's
question.
kind of the best way to build an app. I mean, having AI do everything from 0 to 100. And if you're unfamiliar, one-shotting means having one prompt and getting the outcome so it's exactly what you want. I'm sure everybody here is going to be familiar with going on ChatGPT, not liking what you got there, and then kind of going back and forth. And it gets kind of like tiresome over the course of it. So, of course, you can build an app with Claude Code or any of these AI tools we're going to be showing in the show. But at the end of the day, it's kind of annoying to have to go back and forth. There's details you forgot, things like that. It's a never ending task. So I think in the first episode, Raul, we're going to actually kind of build a tool to make prompts so that a user can get those one shot apps out the door.
Yeah, and what would be awesome is if that tool that we build to make prompts to one-shot apps is something that we can then go back to the well on and continue to use as we have future episodes. We build more applications. We continue to mess around with AI. I think that has, it has some longevity. So I find it pretty cool, and hopefully helpful to not only what we're endeavoring to do here, but what others are trying to do with AI.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a great way to put it. Plus, we can like refine it once we find more issues. I'm sure after you make it and use it here one time, we're going to be like, okay, we didn't one shot this. Now we have to keep refining this. And in reality, business is like refinement over time.
Right. All right. So first of all, should we maybe back up and do our like intros?
So, if you're new here, I'm Andy Feliciotti. I've been a web developer for over 15, 20 years, something like that. Got started in fifth grade. And Raul and I actually met because he was the CEO of CollaboraLink, and I was hired as a WordPress developer there over maybe 15 years ago at this point. And yeah, and we kind of connected. We, both love AI, and we both connected over our like love of it, and just kind of seeing where the space is going. So, yeah, why don't you tell the audience who you are, Raul?
Well, hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I'm Rahul Pandhi. I am the former CEO of a company called CollaboraLink, which was in the defense and government services space. It was basically all software development, and I was lucky enough to scale that up to about 300 employees. Andy was one of those. And then we sold it to a private equity fund in 2022. And ever since then, I've been playing around with AI, playing around with kind of understanding the power of these tools, and recently reconnected with Andy because I thought, Andy was always on the bleeding edge of technology, even in his time at CollaboraLink. And so I wanted to reconnect with him. And we sort of jointly came up with the idea of let's do a show and let's call it Unprompted. And here we are now kicking that off.
And I think the big thing for like business owners out there and things, I know AI is kind of a disruptive technology, but at least my take on it, I don't know if you agree, Raul, is like if you don't adapt, someone else will, your competitor will, and you're not going to be moving as fast as them. So that's kind of what we want to do with this show is like keep you up to date with everything in AI and actually get you hitting the ground running.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, for me, this is a journey of just following my curiosity. And I'm super curious about these tools. But Andy's exactly right. If you're running a business today, you have to be curious about these tools. You have to be playing around with these tools because the speed at which things are changing, and at the speed at which what you can do using AI is changing is absolutely incredible. And making sure that you're staying in front of it is super important.
And I think we recently, with the release of GPT 5.2 Codex, which now we're on 5.3, and Claude Opus 4.6 specifically. I mean, if someone's going to be watching this in a month or whatever, they're going to be like, whoa, those are so outdated now. But I think that's kind of like the turning point, at least I've seen from a lot of friends, people in the industry. They're kind of like seeing the coding ability really scale up to a level that you're kind of more as a coder like myself, you're more of like at an orchestra level and not really in the weeds with the code itself. So I think that kind of thing is really important to learn if you're a developer.
Absolutely. You guys now get to be the conductors. And then for guys like me, right? I'm a businessman. I'm not a developer. I know how to build and scale a business. And, getting the power of AI to help now can allow me to, just like Andy talked about, be an orchestra conductor, but build at scale quickly, build a lot of different things very, very quickly. It's really cool to see through the lens of two very different backgrounds here, the power of these tools.
And our second goal while we're building these apps here is to get something off the ground and actually kind of deploy something and see if we can get any viable businesses out of what we're doing here would be cool.
That's right. I mean, what a cool byproduct is if by screwing around with AI, just having some fun, we also get something that generates revenue. That would be icing on the cake.
And I do want to say, because in the space, I feel like there's a very big misconception with anything with internet marketing online. I have my own SaaS with a co-founder called Right Blogger, and marketing online is not easy. Making money online is not easy, and that's something I do want to emphasize before we get started. Is like, I'm sure Raul can say how hard it has been to build his business. People online often make it look way, way too easy, and this is not that show. We're not going to teach you how to get rich overnight. Let's get started. So, in the show, we're going to be using a lot of technologies here, and I'll kind of explain them at a really high level. All of these big companies now, Google, Anthropic, OpenAI, they have their own kind of coding agents, and Anthropic's theirs is called Claude. So they have a web UI like ChatGPT, but they also have a coding interface called Claude Code. So in the show, we're going to be trying different technologies, but for our kind of kickoff, we're going to be using Claude Code. And for this, you kind of do have to be a little bit more developer minded. So you'll have to learn a bit of the terminal here. So we're going to bring up the terminal, and you can see I'm in Cursor here, which is an AI code editor itself, but it has a terminal. So I'll be using that. And you basically have to install Claude Code. We'll include a link in the show notes. But you basically just type in Claude and it should boot up here.
Oh, so you're actually running Claude from your terminal as opposed to just the web app Claude Code.
Okay, so yeah, I didn't even know there was a web app. So there's like a web view.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if
Okay.
you download the Mac Claude, application, you can access, the chat, the co-work, and Claude Code, and the interface for Claude Code becomes very much more kind of user friendly. But I think that this is more developer friendly, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, this is a great example of how much there is in the space. I work on this every day, and I didn't even know that there was a visual UI for this. But
Yeah,
yeah,
there.
if you're just trying to jump in, the UI is definitely a great way to do that. I'm sure. But yeah, I guess for this one, we're just going to use the web interface or the terminal interface. But I bet it's pretty similar. You can kind of point us if that's not the case. S-
It's definitely similar. I mean, it's much more for guys like me, right, who are not technical, not developers. But let's run with the ball here, and we can demonstrate the other UI on another episode.
okay, so we're here in Claude Code. I'm gonna actually we're on Sonnet 4.6. I think that's a great coding model. Of course, Claude Opus 4.6, also another great coding model. Um, there's plenty of great coding models, but we're just gonna stick with Sonnet for this. And basically, like, sorry, go ahead.
Sonnet's the latest version, right, Andy? I mean, that's
It's their mid tier. So Opus is like their most expensive, kind of more powerful. There's really like a kind of a range of models with all these companies. Anthropic has three levels. They have a Haiku, which is like their light model. It knows less. Sonnet, which is like their middle model, and then Opus is their highest quality. And Sonnet is the 4.6 specifically is the newest release. And with AI, you'll kind of the naming conventions are very confusing in my opinion. The release numbers, nothing really is kind of rooted in reality. A smaller model can be way better than a bigger one that was released last year because the knowledge is kind of compressed over time. Is kind of how that all works. Like if everybody remembers when GPT-4 came out, now a very small model that you can run on your phone is like as powerful as GPT-4. So kind of like all of that inference that we're actually like compounding over time. And I think that's why we're going to see the space get really crazy and even more crazy, I guess, in a year or so, because things will just get super, super cheap and fast.
so. Andy, on Sonnet 4.6, do you have to prompt it to do like deep thinking versus, or in Claude Code, is that not a thing that's only in chat?
In terms of what you write, I would always write things like that. So, I'll probably keep it really simple here for just for the sake of what we're doing here. But yeah, anytime you're prompting AI, typically it's good to write like think hard on this. I mean, it's silly, but The backend systems from these companies, they really want to save money. So if you write something like that, kind of the thinking turns that it does will increase. So it should get better results.
Got it. I think and what I was saying is if you're, if you're screwing around in Claude and you're simply toggling between the different models. You're saying you could toggle between Sonnet 4.6, Opus 4.6. They have a toggle switch for extended thinking, which means it auto prompts the LLM to spend a little
Hmm.
time thinking about things. But I think when you're in Claude Code, you don't need to do that. So we can kind of just move forward.
Yeah, it might be like an automated thing, or the visual UI has that. But that is a great point because I don't know how it actually specifically works here. Um, but yeah, for this, we're gonna, I guess, we should probably come up with like a fun name. And like you said in the beginning of the show, one shot is kind of fun.
I like it.
Um, Maybe we'll call it like one shot code or something, so it's more rooted in what we're doing here. So, make me a web app. So we're gonna say make us a web app called one shot code. So, I don't know how technical we should get here. What do you think, Raul? Should I go into things that I know about coding that I like to kind of prefer? Or should we just see what happens if I do this? Like
I
keep it really high level.
Well, what we want to do here is we want to sort of make sure that the layperson can kind of just dive into AI. But I think that it's okay to get a little technical because anybody who's working with AI is going to know. Like, if I give it generic prompt, it's going to come back with generic output. So, like, I think people have gotten more sophisticated in their use of AI. So, I think it's okay to get a little bit more detailed. Like, make me a web app called One Shot Code and maybe give it a little bit more, robust instruction.
Okay.
Uh,
So we're going to get a little more technical then here because I agree with you. There's so many technologies, and basically, like that's the point of the app we're making is we want you to actually be able to generate, or us to generate an opinionated prompt, so you're not getting random results kind of on the front end. Like for example, if I asked it to make a quick website for my home cleaning business, and I give it my email and name, it'll probably put a phone number placeholder there, but then if you don't actually review everything you're seeing, you might actually deploy with that placeholder there and it won't actually ask you that. So that's kind of the goal of this sub app we're making here. So we want to be more opinionated here. So I'm going to say use Next.js, which is kind of like a framework built on Node. It's probably what it would default to. I think it's kind of funny with these coding technologies, they kind of go in a circle because like everyone's using AI to code. Most code in AI using AI is with Next.js and React. So everything that else is everything that's being trained on is code that's been generated with AI using that. So it's kind of like a endless cycle of these things. So the AI knows Next.js very well. Um, Same with the UI library. I'm going to say include shad cn UI components. Um, and remember typos, completely okay. That's something that I think that's the thing I love about AI because I'm not really great at spelling. So it's like a beautiful thing here that we can do. We'll say use a dark color scheme with blue tones, something like that. Sound good?
Andy, what's Shad CN again? Shad CN UI components. Just can you explain that real quick?
Um, yeah. So shadcn is if you look that up, it's a component library. Um, So basically, like a button, a pop up, accordion, like it's all stuff in React built in one library. So AI can like kind of use a more opinionated library like that because it makes it really, really like easy for it to spin up things like that.
And then just to orient the audience here, when we say one shot, what help the audience understand like what does one shot mean? What does it mean to one shot something?
Yeah. So what we're trying to do here, since we're giving it so much detail, is I want to write one prompt. It just says, okay, I'm running with the ball, and then it gives me exactly what I want. I'm sure everybody here has had like, correct my email spelling, and then you put your email in and it does something you don't like, and you have to go back and forth in ChatGPT with it. That's not one shotting, but one shotting would be correct my email and make sure my name is spelled right, and you actually give it your name so it actually knows specifically what you want in that email, and then you get a one shot at result at the end of it.
So when this is all said and done, we're going to have a web app called One Shot Code that if we type in generic sort of information into, it will one shot spit out the prompt that we then need to put into Claude Code.
Exactly. So then we can use it in our future episodes, and we can kind of have fun, like in a more visual interface, building the app with the
Yeah,
app we're building here.
very cool.
Yeah, I just wrote this app will be designed to help users generate one-shot code prompts for Claude Code, Google Code, Codex, etc. Um, we want the prompts to be opinionated that it generates. Um, we also have to give it. We have so this app is it's kind of we're getting like multi-layered here. The app itself is going to have to use AI to generate the prompts. So I'm going to get more detailed here. Let's use Claude Sonnet 4.6 from Anthropic to generate these prompts using the Vercel AI SDK. And the Vercel AI SDK is basically kind of like it's probably the most universal way now that developers talk to AI. And it's really easy to switch what AI you're using because it's all in one framework. But the one cool thing, I mean, this is more technical, but this is one cool thing here is actually if you use Vercel AI SDK, you can generate kind of structured data from AI. So what I was thinking this app would be is like you put in, I want to make a website for my home repair business, and then it kind of will give you questions back to kind of fill in the gaps for that prompt. So that's a great use case for Vercel AI SDK.
Okay.
We'll want to use structured data to generate questions to the user so we 100% know what the app should be and how it should look, etc. Think hard. So here we're going to think hard on this and think of gaps that I may have missed.
Or there it is. I mean, that's basically telling it to use the extended thinking function.
Yeah, it should take a little longer. Yeah, I don't. So I'm trying to think if there's anything that we missed here.
Well, to me, this is pretty interesting that it's like this easy, right? It's like, make me a
Yeah.
web app. Here's what it's called. Use these components. Um, like, I don't know. Like, it feels like it's pretty comprehensive, but yeah, I don't think we missed anything.
I mean, there'll probably be things that we missed too, which is like that's like kind of why we want to make this app. Like it'll be, I'm sure after we do this and what we see, we're gonna be like, this is a mismatch of what we want.
I wonder if what we're missing though, like, most web apps have like database connectivity. Is that something that we don't
Sure.
need to think about here?
Let's make sure to save that on the first go. For this, a user database isn't required. We'll so I'm asking just for a simple landing page.
Nice.
Um, Yeah. And it's funny because there's actually like all of these coding models are trained on like a few templates. So we're probably going to get something that looks like every other AI coding app. In Claude Code, there is a way to add skills. We're going to get into that in a future episode. But basically, there's skills for like interface design, marketing, anything you can think of. But for this right here, we're just going to keep it basic and do this, I think. So I think we should let it go and see what happens.
Let's do it.
Meandering. That'd be a great name too.
Wow, that's a good name.
Oh, here we go.
Cool.
Wow, okay.
Great. Shot code prompts. That's sick.
Wow. Yeah, that came out good.
I like it. I like the dark mode, and you actually told it to build it using dark theme, right?
And the blue, I said use blue.
Okay.
But it is funny because like this is the type of thing where it's like kind of nonsensical stuff. This is like a scroll little animation, which is cool, but there's nothing to scroll to. So like, it's the type of thing where AI will just be like, well, that's a good idea, or this is how I should do it. And it's not something it actually needs. But let's see how this works here. Generate my prompt. Okay, so this looks pretty complex currently. For the sake of example, let's make a web app that's a checklist.
Yeah.
Checklist for people who are busy. I don't know if we're going to be able to do an entire.
Yeah. Obviously, this would take time to generate a whole new app. Can I
Yeah.
ask?
Oh,
Can
here's
I, can we do
hmm?
a grocery checklist for people?
A what?
Well,
A
actually, never.
grocery.
No, actually, you're
Well,
right.
yeah.
That would be a mobile app. Never mind. Let's stick with your checklist app. Checklist for people who are busy. Web app. Okay.
Well, one thing you'll notice is uh, it's too big for the page.
What
I
is?
have to zoom out. I can't scroll here. So
Uh,
that's like a great example. Like these tools are really powerful, but they are not perfect. So let's see. Also, this is a confusing, very confusing button. Generate smart questions. Like, what does that even? I understand what it's doing because what we asked it, but it's definitely not the best at copywriting or like really understanding user logic, um, or the
Yeah,
visual.
yeah. It seems like there's a little bit of like user experience that AI is not so proficient on, perhaps.
Yeah, and I think it may have failed here. So
Interesting. One shotting is not possible.
yeah, it's there's a lot of opinions and stuff, but I still think it's very important to like have someone who understands, like, because you're going to run into an issue eventually, and you're not like AI will not be able to fix it at a certain point.
Well, at the end of the day, even what you've just shown us here, Andy, is like indicative to me that yes, you could be non-technical and use AI to build applications and to sort of help you. But if you're really going to get more robust with it, if you're going to get more detailed with what you're trying to build, it's going to require some level of technical kind of background, right? It's just
Yeah.
depending on the complexity of what you're trying to do.
And like if I wasn't a developer and we let it just pick the technologies, it might pick something very outdated or I've also noticed it'll create a lot of security holes and things like that. That's things you have to think about, like especially if you have an app that involves payments. Um, there's a lot of like compliance around those type of things.
To me, this just underscores like what I've been thinking about, which is like the individuals that are most empowered and sort of have like the most upside in the future with AI are developers because you guys have the level of expertise, the technical expertise needed to be able to really truly utilize this to its full extent and capability. Now, can guys like me go in and vibe code? Yes, that's going to happen. And there's no doubt. But can somebody like you go in and build a much more robust app that could be a B2B or an enterprise type of thing? Absolutely. And I think that like for me to do that would be very, very difficult. Right. So I have this firm belief that the engineers in our world, in our society, these developers that are technical, you guys have an incredible power that you can unleash with these tool sets that maybe the rest of us are just going to scratch the surface on.
Yeah, and well, I completely agree with that. And I think another thing to harp on is as someone who's not technical, what I think is super helpful is that you now have the ability to kind of understand a core issue happening in your business because most businesses are code at the end of the day. And like if you were like, I don't understand why this isn't working a certain way, or I don't understand what technology is causing this, or maybe your developer isn't great at explaining something casually, I'll like go into a AI, if you have the ability to actually access the source code, you can actually ask questions like just to learn why something's happening, or if you have a question about how something works without you going deep in the app. These tools are really great for that.
Yeah.
So you can see here we it is working now. And one thing I will note is you can screenshot in Claude Code. So I'm screenshotting now, and I'm gonna say it looks great, but the modal doesn't scroll, so I cannot edit anything. And we'll fix that. I do like to prompt it and say, like, look up the documentation, figure out what's going, like actually figure out like the things that make sense, like go to Google and figure things out. So in a future episode, I'll definitely show because that to me has become like a really big power of these tools is like you can connect it to things like Fire Crawl and it can crawl on another site and figure out what's going on that site. So then it can see the documentation and learn like actually what makes sense in certain contexts.
So while you gave it that instruction, it just went in and fixed that issue, adding scroll
Yeah,
bar.
so npm dev or bun dev, it'll recompile as the code's editing. So if I manually edit it, it would have done the same thing. But yeah, you can see it basically was writing as we go along here. Let's see what we get here. All right. I love when it picks a spinning icon that makes no sense also. Like
But
hopefully this area.
this was the page where okay, got it. Now you see the scroll bar, so you can actually scroll through it. So it made the correction.
Yep, exactly. And it's given us database. See, this is still very technical. Like these are all database technologies. Do you need to log in? No. So maybe we'll, if in a future episode we'll rework this. But for now, let's just go ahead and pick some. That's cool. You can kind of you can pick multiple things here. That's kind of cool. We're gonna deploy it on Vercel.
So those are the different columns of your checklist. Due dates,
Yeah,
multiple lists. Got it. Okay.
That's pretty cool. It generates here,
Okay.
and maybe it doesn't even work.
Yeah. Build my prompt and it doesn't do anything, huh?
Yeah. Let's see. See, this is what we want to prevent with this app.
That's right.
Let's see if it can fix it. It'll probably refresh the whole thing here.
So while it's doing that, I mean, I'll just tell you, like, I started playing around with Claude Code, but using the web app version back in January, and I told it, "Hey, build me a company, build me an entire business where I don't do anything and you do everything, Claude." And it actually in the end spit out a web application where Claude was responsible for most of the tasks. I had a few things. It set my expectation that it was unrealistic that I would have to do nothing. Uh, but I didn't have this many errors. I was able to get it up and running. So it's interesting. Like, I'm not sure, did we give it something a little bit more complex? And that's why it's got some errors.
It might also be I asked it very specific things that I want it, while yours you kind of gave it like a free range. See, now we're getting errors. So um,
Yeah, I gave it free reign to do, um, basically whatever it wanted. It got to choose the coding libraries, the database, all this stuff was like basically up to Claude Code.
yeah, and it is it is very random sometimes. That maybe I gave this too rigid of a layout, or maybe Sonnet 4.6 isn't as great as they say it is. You may have
Should
been using Opus.
Yeah, I should have
Opus.
used Codex.
Yeah, yeah. Those all my weird requirements. Must have a pop up.
I don't. This
Let's see.
doesn't seem overly complex though.
Yeah, I am shocked as well, to be honest, that this isn't working on just one, because I thought this was a very simple ask. So let's just pick some options here. Do they need to be logged in to look at it? All right, let's see. Yeah, still you can't do. Yeah, it's strange. I say build my prompt still does nothing. Please review the entire app and make it work. That's how you know a developer is giving up, is just make it work, fix it.
That's pretty funny that it's like so finicky.
Yeah, I will say this is like a relatively simple application, so I'm kind of surprised as well.
Yeah, because all we're doing is we're spitting out prompt.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see. Hopefully this works here. I told it to try extra hard and make it work. So all right. It is interesting because I see a lot of these platforms now also they like Convex is one of my favorites. Here we go. Now it's actually lit up. Convex, for example. There we go. That looks great. And this is markdown formatting. So like one hash is a H1, which is like a heading. So that's kind of the universal language of AI models. But it's great because it's basically has formatting for the AI to understand, like, this is bold. This is, like the formatting of the document. Wow, this is great. There we go.
Andy, while it's doing this, let me ask you, you've been playing around with AI tools a lot and different overlays onto the LLMs. Like, what tools are you finding you're using the most?
So since I'm primarily a coder, I've been using right now, Cursor is like the best code editor in my opinion.
Okay.
It's kind of like a chat with your code on the side. You rarely have to actually go into the code the way it's set up, but it indexes your entire code base, and then you can ask questions basically just like how this is. Uh, but you can pick the model. So the model I've been using is GPT Codex 5.3,
Okay.
mainly because I had a $2,000 AI bill for my January for Opus, because Opus is like 3 times the cost or something like that of Codex. So I was really
Yeah.
going crazy with it and then adding a bunch of features to my apps.
Wait, that's a good question. How does AI charge? How does it
Yeah, so
charge?
it's by token. So like basically like by word. So a token, like the word the might be one token. And then street might be two, STREET would be like two different tokens. It's really not computable, but you can kind of say like 1 to 2 tokens
Okay.
per word. So you basically pay by word. So you can see here, this just took 3,000 tokens, and you'll see on all these apps, it'll say, or all these models, they'll price by tokens, basically, like millions of tokens. So as we were using Claude Code, when you set up Claude Code yourself, it'll actually log you into your Anthropic account, and then it'll kind of connect. I think a lot of these ones give you kind of free usage. So I bet this was included with my subscription. And if we kept using it, it would like flag me. But that's basically the core of how AI bills you.
All right. So we got a prompt generated. Can we see it?
I mean, do you want me to? I mean, it'll take you another 15 minutes. I know you have to go. So
Yeah. No, that's fine. So but what is this? This is okay. this is our prompt that you would copy and then put into Claude Code.
Yeah, or whatever tool you picked at the beginning. See, because it can reformat it too.
Okay, and this is so much more of a, just scroll through this, like this prompt here. So this is a much more detailed prompt than anything like a vibe coder is going to know to put into Claude Code, right?
Yeah, the best thing is it's very opinionated, so it's going to give like technologies that as we picked on the previous questions phase, like I think we picked Zustand. That's kind of a state management tool for React. So it's kind of like really like giving you an opinionated version of the prompt, so it works the first time as you would expect. Because otherwise, you might say, "Make me a checklist app," and then the color scheme is orange. Like that's a really basic example, but then you'll have to like prompt again to change it to red.
All right. Well,
But yeah,
look, it
pretty extensive.
works. We got it to work. We got it to build an app. Now the question is does our one shot prompt actually work? Does it
Uh,
create a one shotted application? And so maybe we do that offline and we come back and report to our audience on, were we able to answer the question of, is it possible to one shot an app?
I I would say currently no, based on what we just experienced through this episode.
Well,
But
yeah,
what with
we
what we're
weren't able.
making, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. We weren't able to one shot using Claude Code. The question is can we now one shot now that we have a code prompt generator, right?
Yeah,
Is our app that spits out code prompts really truly able to one shot apps for the users that use it? I think that's what we can dive into next.
let's jump into it. That'd be great.
Awesome. All right, Andy, this is fun, man. I'm enjoying it. It's a good time,
Yeah,
and let's keep like messing around with AI and seeing what we can find.
awesome. And thanks everyone for watching. And if you have any questions about AI or coding or business, just let us know in the comments below.
Sounds great. All right. See
Thanks
ya.
everyone.